Welcome to the 4Q podcast. My name is Sheena. I'm a therapist who specializes in anxiety, burnout, and relationship issues, and truthfully, all the underlying stuff that brings that forward. I'm also a business coach. So in this podcast, we talk all things life, business, love, relationships, and everything in between. So let's get into today's episode. This is a very unique episode where I'm going to talk about how to make it through the hard times and just what to do when shit hits the fan. I'm just going to keep it real with you, human being to human being, this episode. So I'm lucky enough that I've been counseling and being in the therapy room and coaching people for over a decade now. And I've watched lots of people and thousands of hours of watching and doing and learning and all of that in this space. And, you know, when people are first starting out as counselors or therapists or coaches, one of the really easy mistakes to make is just overthinking it. You know, same with when you're first learning how to drive a car, it's just not yet natural. You're still overthinking it, making sure you're in the middle of the lane, in between the lines, making sure you fully stop at the stop sign. The rhythm to your driving's not natural. You're still kind of a little bit jerky with it. And sometimes when people are sort of starting off in this space, and they're still building up their confidence and they're just so eager to say the right thing, because as therapists and counselors, we're very much trained what not to say. And so it can really scare us into what to say. And sometimes it can train us out of just being a human having a conversation because we're so scared of saying the wrong thing. You know, so for example, we're trained not to say, "I'm proud of you." And so that took me a long time for me to actually be okay with talking about pride in the space. I had to feel my way into it, you know, and saying things like, "That's something you should be really proud of." I didn't say "I'm proud of you," but I said "you should be really proud of that." And now I do say "I'm proud of you" because I am, right? And I think it's extremely validating to hear that from someone when you've never heard that. Yeah, not always, right? But at the right moments, it can be something that someone might need to hear. Okay, so back to the hard times. How that relates is sometimes I've heard some really not good advice when you're in the hard times and shit's hit the fan. Okay, just think about all the things you've got to be grateful for. You got a roof over your head, food on the table, da-da-da-da. No. Just no. If you see that advice online, just no. Now, don't get me wrong. It's true. Like, we should be so grateful for those things. And if you haven't seen it, in some of my earlier episodes, I talk about the benefits of gratefulness. What do we know? We know that having a gratefulness practice, so asking yourself, what are 3 things that I'm thankful for or grateful for or I show gratitude towards, helps your brain look for positive things and in turn makes you an optimistic person because your brain starts to look for more and more things to be positive about. And optimism actually provides for you in a lot of ways. It shows you new opportunities. It makes you more open to new people. It makes you handle the hard times better. But that kind of stuff is a proactive approach. That's not the shit you need to hear if you're in it right now. If you're in it right now, you're going to survive this. I know it doesn't feel like it, and maybe it doesn't seem clear right now, but there's very, very few situations that aren't going to resolve in time. So I've had one of those weeks where shit has just hit the fan. Yeah, it's not been a good week for me, admittedly. If you follow me on socials, you might not be able to tell because I still feel the need to show up and do all the things. But the podcast is my safe space. And also TikTok. TikTok's not, I'm starting to be more like that. But this podcast is the place that I love to show up for you and connect with you. I feel safe with you. Partly because I'm hiding behind my voice too, right? But yeah, I've just had one of those weeks where there's been a lot of tears, a lot of adrenaline, a lot of anxiety, states of anxiousness. I don't need someone telling me to be grateful right now. I know that I'm lucky. I know that there's lots of things that I have that other people don't. But what I will say are things that you should be doing right now is probably not listening to this podcast. And I don't mean to switch it off now. You're already halfway through. But like, what's really important is to actually switch off. So I've been quite fortunate in that I've had some really amazing clients over my time, and some of which have had quite high media profiles, which has benefited them in the past, but has also had their downsides. So I've had people had really big news articles be on every newspaper, on every social media platform. And you can imagine how anxiety provoking that is, how there's a feeling of the need to write the story, rewrite the narrative. Do I go on the offense, defend myself? Sometimes you just need to switch off. Do nothing. And it seems counterintuitive. So whether it's a financial stress you're going through, a relationship stress, maybe you found out something about your relationship you didn't want to know. And again, that financial stress, maybe there's something that's really scary happening right now. Maybe the bank contacted you. Maybe there's bills that are overdue. The letters, people calling you. Maybe you owe people. Yeah. Maybe there's something that you stuffed up. Maybe you stuffed it. We all stuff it sometimes. We all have a financial stress, relationship stress, emotional stress. Now's not actually the time to take action. If anything, now is the time to be in the hub with the people that love you, if you can. Best you can. So sometimes what that might look like is maybe if you have a parent or a family member, a brother, a sister, a sibling, a best friend, someone that you can just go to their place and just hang out. No phones, not watching the news or anything. Just go watch a movie. Sometimes it's deleting social media. I'm not saying delete your account, but just delete the apps off your phone. Sometimes it's not listening to anything, not looking at your email. Because a lot of the time, the worst case scenario isn't as bad as what you think. You're probably not going to go to jail, right? You're probably not going to lose a life. There's going to be things you can do about it, even if you don't know what they are right now. A lot of the time when we just let ourselves be, the right actions come to us. But when we're heightened, when we're emotional, when we're in it, don't take action. I know that's such a hard thing to do as an action taker, a high achiever. But you got to remember that Anxiety is about the future. What happens next? Depression is about the past. Why did I do that? Why did that happen to me? That's so unfair. Why did that happen in that way? Why is this happening to me? But joy lives in the present. And I'm not saying you have to be joyful right now. In fact, quite the opposite. I'm actually saying throw the pity party. Now, that might sound very counterintuitive to what you've heard. Be grateful. Don't sit in the pity party, blah, blah, blah. If you don't acknowledge your emotions that you're going through right now, they're going to get worse. The insecurity is going to be worse. Feel it. Cry it out. Journal it out. Talk about it if you want to, but also allow yourself to live in a bubble. Allow yourself to pretend that none of it's happening if you need to. So again, with some of these media personalities I know, they went, got an Airbnb in the middle of nowhere, no socials on their phones, no emails, they're not checking their email. They're just going out with someone they love, got a whole bunch of junk food, going and watching whatever they want to watch. And they spent the whole weekend going in waterfalls and, there was a dam. So I remember them telling me about the dam and, just shutting off from the world and being present to the moment and just coming back to themselves. And having someone there who's like, dude, yeah, this sucks, but I'm here. I'll always be here. You don't have to have 10 people like that, okay? The media paints it out like you're going to have all this big bubble around you, or the Kardashian family painted out like they've got all these people around them. Not all of us are Kardashians with 10,000 siblings, right? You just need one person. And even if you don't have that one, you can be that too. Sometimes you just need to be by yourself, switch off from the world, and just be. Allow yourself to just live in a little delusion for a while. Just ignore it all. Because sometimes you just need space from the situation to get clarity about it. It doesn't mean you're ignoring it. It doesn't mean you're not taking action. It just means you're allowing yourself to feel all that you need to feel, to process all that you need to process. And then when you're ready and you feel better able to handle it, then you can take action. Because taking action from a really emotional and heightened state isn't helpful. And so sometimes you need to be able to articulate to people, I'm not ignoring you or avoiding the situation, but I'm not thinking clearly. And I just need to have some space to group my thoughts together. And sleep helps us process. So if you're not sleeping, allowing yourself to sleep, allowing yourself to not have coffee if you're feeling anxious, right? Or, just take some time for yourself. You'd be amazed how going back to the simple things, or going back to what it was like in the 80s and 90s of not having your phone. I don't know if you've had this experience, but when you go on holiday and you don't have your phone on you the whole time, it's incredibly relaxing for your nervous system. So again, if you want to take that a whole step further, if you're super dysregulated right now, try going without your phone. I mean it. Like, try going 24 hours, 48 hours with just watching TV, reading books, talking, hanging out, spending time with family, spending time in nature. There's very little things that we need our phone for realistically. In an emergency, we're usually around someone who will get contacted about that emergency anyway. So just being mindful of that. Always do it safely, that you still have a contact if you need an emergency. But I really want you to try that because I think you forget what life is like without the constant. Even for me, I have notifications turned off, and yet when I go phone free, it frees something in me because I'm not thinking about content to create or unconsciously checking my email or checking my bank account or, oh, I need to capture this moment. Oh, I forgot to capture this moment. Oh, did I put it in 0.5 and what was the exposure and all this stuff. I really think if shit has hit the fan this week, you're dysregulated, you're exhausted probably because you're either not sleeping or you're crying or, all of the above, not sleeping, crying, headaches, or it feels like every man and his dog wants to contact you right now. Or the opposite, people are ignoring you. Just give yourself that space. Be kind to yourself. And also remember, you're not the first and certainly not the last person to go through this. Everyone's had people fucking pissed off with them. Yeah, I said the F word. I'm leaning into myself a little bit more this year. You probably can tell. I'm a swearer. I'm a Queenslander, so apologies for that. But, allow all of that. People are going to be pissed off with you. Everyone has had someone pissed off with them. There's going to be people disappointed. Everybody's going to have someone disappointed in them. Maybe you disappointed yourself. That sucks. But you'll get through this. Maybe you're just flat out scared. You just don't know what happens next. I get it. I get that. Sometimes you don't need to know what happens in 2 days from now, 3 days from now. Sometimes it's good to just think, what do I want to do this next minute, this next hour? Oh, I want to watch The Holiday with Jack Black, Kate Winslet. Yeah? Sometimes you just want to sit and watch that movie and lose yourself in that. And you're allowed to have that pity party, and you're allowed to cry to a sad movie, or you're allowed to rewatch your favorite show for the 12th time. Yeah? This is the real, honest, human advice that you should be getting right now. Don't try to be grateful or work out or, take action and push through it. That'll come. You're going to have to do that at some point. You're allowed to just be. Almost treat yourself like you were 9 years old. What were you doing at 9 years old? What would be fun? Oh, I want to go, again, jump in the dam and go swimming and sleep in the middle of the day or sleep in or dance to my favorite song. Doing those things doesn't make the problem worse. And no, it probably doesn't make it better either. But it does help you process everything that's going on right now. Give yourself that time and space. I know it's scary. I know it's hard. And you're probably sick of crying or sick of texting or sick of whatever. It's going to be okay. So I really want you to think about if there's anyone that you could be in this little delusional bubble or hub with. And if you don't want to be with anyone, that's okay too, as long as you're safe. And just allow yourself to just tune out. Tune the world out for a bit. The worst case scenario is not going to happen. There's probably not a lot of things that you're needed for unless you're a brain surgeon. And even then, brain surgeons need a breast too. Not everyone can be on 24/7. Okay? So fight the high achiever in you. Give yourself some rest. Give yourself a break. And know it's all going to sort out. But do not take action right now. Just go and live in a bubble for a little bit until you can process. Because anytime something big happens, financial, emotional, all of that, you're actually in a state of shock at the beginning, and you can't make wise mind decisions in that space. Wise mind being the balance of your logical cold mind and your emotional hot mind. It's that warm, wise mind, that perfect balance of logic and emotion, which actually is more like intuition. You can't tap into that when you're in a state of shock. You cannot tap into that when you're high stress. You cannot tap into that when you're outside your window of tolerance. Give yourself grace, time, processing, and of course, breathe if you can, but don't feel like you have to. You don't have to do anything right now. Okay? I hope that this found you when it needed to, because I did think about what would be helpful for me right now. When I'm in my shit week and shit's hit the fan and you're just in a hard time. That's what you need. You just need someone to know, I've been there. And most human beings are going to be there. And you're not a shit person. You're not shit at what you do. You're not bad in any way. It's just called being a human being. And I'm not going to tell you some inspirational shit right now. But what I will say is when you come out the other side of this, you will recognize that this is going to make the bright times brighter. So I love you. You're going to get through this. I'm proud of you for being brave enough to even find this. And of course, if you're listening to this and you're in a good vibe, which, well, good for you, but send this to someone who maybe needs it, or save this so that if you know someone in it, or the next time you're in it, come back to this space. Come back and listen. All right, beautiful soul, I love you. I care about you. And I hope that you got something out of this. Because this doesn't follow my content plan of, creating something that links to my offer or anything like that. This just came from my heart. Someone needed to hear this episode today. All right, much love, and I will see you in the next episode of the 4Q podcast. Bye for now.